Now today's a pretty special day for us dividend income focused investors, and that's because when you compare JEPQ to the SPY, and the SPY being one of the hardest things to outperform in the market altogether. If you compare the two and look at total return as a metric, JEPQ as of right now on the max time frame is up around 54.71%, and SPY is up around 52.73%. Now, historically speaking, JEPQ and SPY have traded pretty close together, which is why dividend or income focused investors have always been pretty fond of JEPQ, because it basically offers you somewhat similar returns to the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100, which both have performed very well historically, but gives you more of an income-focused approach. Now in this video, I'm going to go over why this is so substantial and share with you all the historical returns JEPQ has seen since inception. I'm also going to share with you how many shares of JEPQ I personally have across my portfolios altogether, and I have been buying more shares of JEPQ as of recent. Along with that, I'm going to tell you exactly how much dividend income I receive every month. So regardless if you hold on to JEPQ as of right now or maybe thought about it, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z dividend investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. Now again, the reason this is so significant, the fact that JEPQ has now outperformed SPY in the max time frame as total return as a metric, is because a lot of dividend or income focused investors that are choosing to invest into things that might offer more income potential but maybe not as much growth or upside. A lot of times those investment vehicles are going to lag the overall market quite a bit, which is somewhat fine because us dividend or income focused investors like to sort of play it safe more or less and want cash flow in return for maybe a little bit less total return. But because as of today at least, JEPQ has now overtaken the SPY by just a few percentage points, is a big feat considering once again, JEPQ offers a boatload of income potential to investors compared to something like the SPY. Now before we go through some of the math and I share with you guys things like how many shares of this ETF I hold as of right now, how much income I receive on a monthly basis, just to go over some of the basics, JEPQ, the JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF, is an ETF by JP Morgan, and in this ETF's overview it says seeking consistent premium income with lower volatility, the JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF seeks to deliver monthly distributable income and Nasdaq 100 exposure with less volatility. The portfolio is as follows. Underlying equity portfolio employs an applied data science approach to fundamental research and portfolio construction. Disciplined options overlay implements written on the money Nasdaq 100 index call options that seeks to generate distributable monthly income. So JEPQ is going to be more of an income-focused ETF altogether, and at least over the last year or so, this ETF has paid out anywhere from around 56 cents per share per month, and then all the way down to as little as 38 cents per share per month. Now, the amount of income JEPQ is going to distribute on a monthly basis is going to have to do with things like volatility in the market, how much option premiums are at any given time, etc. So even though JEPQ doesn't really have a targeted yield that this ETF is going to for certain pay every single month or every single year, the ETF has been pretty consistent and has offered around an 8 to 10% yield over most timeframes. Now another great aspect about JEPQ, this is probably one of the favorite aspects about this ETF, especially in the dividend investing community, the fact that this ETF is not navigated whatsoever or is not basically traded down into the red over time, while distributing around 10% yield to investors. This ETF has actually done the exact opposite. It's actually up around 17% on the max time frame, which I get it over the last several years. That's not the biggest price return, but because this ETF also pays around 10% more or less per share per year in income, this equals to a massive return, which like I showed you is actually outperformed the SPY over multiple different time frames. Now again, in the dividend or income investing landscape, there's going to be different ETFs out there like TSLY, for example, the Yield Max Tesla Option Income Strategy ETF, which is going to pay you a boatload more in income compared to something like JEPQ. But over the max time frame, you can see that something like TSLY has actually decayed around 73% on the max time frame, which means even if you were receiving massive amounts of income, let's say every single month, your overall investment and your total return has definitely been beaten up. Now, as dividend and income focused investors, we have seen this time and time again with different ETFs and even stocks for that matter that offers say north of an 8 or 10% yield. Most of the time, high yielding assets are pretty risky because of that. But something like JEPQ, at least so far since inception, and this has a lot to do with the underlying the Nasdaq's performance, JEPQ has not only paid around 10% more or less per share in yield per year, but also has offered a nice price return, which is sort of a bonus on top. Now, as of filming this video, JEPQ has been trading for around 2.8 years or so just under 3 years in total. And over this time frame, JEPQ has returned around 52% as far as the total return goes. And this is with dividends being reinvested along the way. Now, if dividends were not being reinvested, we're talking around 41% more or less. As far as total return goes, or around 13 or 16% per year on average, which again is more than most of us dividend investors are really asking for. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but an 8 to 10 to maybe 12% per year average annual total return for any investment in my portfolio, I'd be pretty thrilled with. So the fact that JEPQ has been paying consistent income over the last several years, but also been growing in price, has definitely made it one of the most loved income-oriented ETFs across the entire space. Now, across my portfolios as of right now, I have been buying a few more shares of JEPQ here and there. I'm sitting at 489 shares of JEPQ at an average cost of around $47 more or less per share. Now, I bought most of my JEPQ a long time ago, and I haven't really added that much more just because the ETF never seems to really dip in price all that much. But even with the price being much higher than my average cost per share, I still have been grabbing a few more shares here and there just because I personally want more NASDAQ exposure through this premium income strategy. And with my yield on cost being pretty high because I bought most of my JEPQ shares pretty low, I'm currently earning around $250 more or less on a monthly basis. And again, this is going to depend completely on what JEPQ's monthly payout is going to be, etc. Now, all that to say that JEPQ is one of the most popular and one of the best performing ETFs across the entire premium income landscape, and has been a great position in my portfolio that's fed a lot of cash balance into my portfolio every single month, which I've then used to buy different ETFs, maybe some more JEPQ, or whatever the case might be on a monthly basis. Now, lastly, I once again wanted to touch on the fact that JEPQ has not only kept up with the SPY over the last several years, but now as of this moment actually outperformed it. It just sort of proves a point that growth investors are not necessarily better than income investors or vice versa, but basically shows that either strategy can get you to the same place because once again, over multiple time frames, both of these have traded pretty close together. But it's awesome that income-focused investors or dividend-focused investors do have different asset vehicles like JEPQ right now in the market that they can receive a lot more income on a consistent basis, but also see similar returns compared to the general market. So now that we talked about JEPQ, the JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF, one of my personal favorite holdings across my entire portfolio, and one of the best income-oriented ETFs across the market, I lastly have a question for you guys down below. As far as covered call style or income style ETFs, as of right now comparing to all of them, what's your number one favorite ETF and why? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.